So part of tonight is going to be measuring an angle. Now, there are two ways, two different, you know how we have feet, and metric, and English units? There's two different ways we can do measurements of angles. Right now we're going to measure an angle, and it's going to be the smallest amount of rotation about the vertex from one ray to the other measured in degrees. So we're in degrees, but you're going to be introduced to a different type of measurement later on. There are 360 degrees in a circle, so a single degree is just like 1/360th. So I think you've done this before. How do we use a protractor? You're going to place the center mark. This is my center mark on the vertex of the angle. So there we go. Now, is that going to help me measure that angle? So now you have to line up the 0 mark of the protractor with one side. So my question is, now my 0 is with one side. Is that going to help me measure the angle? What's wrong with this? Well, my angle's down here. I got to rotate it more, don't I? Okay, so I'll rotate it more. Now will I be able to measure? All right. If you notice on your protractor, there are two different measurements, correct? Inside starts 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Outside starts with 180. When you start to measure something, do you start with like 5 or 9? Where do you begin? 0. So am I going to read the inside numbers or am I going to read the outside numbers? What are we going to read? Okay, if I read the outside, I'm going to start at 180. Inside, we want to start at 0. So we've got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and that appears to be 80. Did anybody download these notes? Sorry, my eyes aren't real good. So if that is going to be 80, that's about 81. If we look at the little tick marks. So that angle is 81 degrees. Now, was there any work to be shown on this? No, there was no work to be shown on this. Thank you. Jeff? All right. Let's see. Do I have another angle? Notation to, oh, okay. This is important. You know how when we have segments, how do we talk about distance of a segment? Our notation for a segment looks like this. What's distance? With no line. That's distance. Well, if I want to refer to an angle, that's how I refer to an angle. But if I want to refer to its measure, then it's little m in front. Measure of angle ABC. So that means we're talking about its measure. If you don't see the m, then that means we're speaking about the actual physical geometric concept. So let's do another one. All right. So different protractor. Do you see where this line and that vertical intersect? That needs to go on my vertex. So I'm going to put it over here. We're going to start reading from 0. Do I use the inside numbers or do I use the outside numbers? Eric? Okay, so when I start to measure, I start from 180 to 170. So if 0 is on the inside, I'm going to use the inside numbers. So this is 10, 20, 30, 40. What do you say? 49? Now, you've got problems like this in the book. A bit unconventional is to measure an angle, and that's to take the absolute value of the numbers the rays pass through. Remember when we had distance from A to B was the absolute value of one endpoint minus the other endpoint. Do you remember that? Oh, I can't write on top of that protractor. Minus other endpoint. That was our distance. Do you remember that? Absolute value. So it's similar to our angles. Do you see they did not put this 0 degrees here? You see that? They didn't place their protractor right. However, what we can do, we'll call this P. We can say the measure of angle P equals. All right, let's use the inside. What is this degrees? So we're going to do absolute value of 20 minus, and what are staying on the inside? You can't flip-flop. Staying on the inside, what are these degrees? So absolute value of 120 minus 130 is absolute value of negative 110, I think, which is 110. Now, let's do it another way. Suppose we said measure of angle P. Let's say we decided to use the outside, since nothing's starting at 0. What is this on the outside? So that would be the absolute value of 160 minus, stay on the outside, what is this? 50. And what do we get? Absolute value of 110, or what? 110. So on the problems that look like this in your book, if I see just an answer, I will consider that problem on your homework not done. If you add, subtract, multiply, or divide, what must I see? The work, just like I showed. All right, so let's measure this one more time. I'm going to steal this protractor. If I come down, I'm going to put this on the vertex. All right, so now, am I going to read the outside numbers or the inside numbers this time? Outside. Why the outside? They start where? All right, what does this outside start at? 0. The inside start at 180. So we're going to read the outside this time. So how big is this angle? Karen, how big is this angle? Well, if we were coming this way, we're at 130. Yeah, 132, 133-ish. All right, so I think what I need you to do is I need you to take your straight edge. You can use your protractor because it's got a straight edge. I want you to draw an angle on your paper, and I want you to put your compass in the right place, and I want you to read that compass. I want you to put your protractor in the correct place, and I want you to figure out what that angle is. And I want to check to see that you did it right. So leave your protractor in place so I can check to see if you read it right. So you're going to draw any angle on your paper. Now you might have to make your angle sides longer. Did I miss this whole row? Oh my gosh. Thank you for reminding me. I should have looked. Anybody ready? So make sure, oh, what did I just do? Do this. Now I am. I recorded before. I put it on pause. Thank you. All right. So now when you look at the angles you just measured, If your angle is over 90 and you said it was 20 degrees, is there a problem? Yes. So your concept, can you all put your hands up and form a 90-degree angle with your arms? Let's see a 90-degree angle with your arms. All right. 90-degree angle. Your one arm should be by your ear, right? And the other arm should be horizontal to get 90. If we drop this upper arm, is it 90 anymore? It is what? Obtuse. And if we come over our head, what do we have? Acute. All right. So you all understand that. All right. So now classify, this is, I think this is like comes straight from the book. Classify each angle and give its measure. If we want the angle of FMG, here's F, we come down MG. So it's this angle right here. What does this start at? Okay. Caitlin, do you want to read the inside or the outside? Okay, so this is going to be 20 what? We're far enough away, we'll say that that's going to be 25 minus, stick with the inside, we got to look at this. On the inside, what is it? 90. So 25 minus 90 is going to be 70. I think that's going to be absolute value of negative 65, which is 65. Classify it. What is kind of angle is this, Brittany N? Where's Brittany N? What kind of angle is this? Acute angle. This would be an acute angle. All right. If we look at DMG, here is D, here is M, here is G. So we're looking at the protractor to here. So we want to start at 0, not at 180. So we're reading the outside, and it is how much? 155. So if this is a 155-degree angle, what is it? Obtuse. If we do DME, so DME, so I'm starting at 0, I can just read my protractor. We're opening this way, so I've got to start at 0, so that's going to be 50 what? How wide is this? Carlin, what's the measure of DME? Right there. D M E. It is acute, but what's its measure? Okay. Anybody can read that? 60. All right. EMG. Here's E. There's M. There's G. Didn't we just do that? No, we did FMG. All right. So, Jennifer, how are we going to do this? How do you find its measure? What is this ray going through? You can choose either the inside or the outside because we're not on 0. Pardon? Okay. Well, do you want to read inside or outside? Inside. So we're between 20 and 30, okay? And then we got to come over here and see how far in between 20 or 30, and it's about 25. And then we're going to subtract. We're going to come up here. What is this on? We're reading on the inside now, so we got to stay on the inside. That's 110. That's 130. What must that be? 120. So 25 minus 120 is going to be absolute value of negative 95, which is 95. So what kind of angle is this? Obtuse. All right. Any questions on how you're going to do that? Was there, for those of you who did the homework, MJ, was that on there? Yeah. Okay. So do I need to see the subtraction. No subtraction, no credit. So for those of you who did it, if you did not show that to me, go back and show that to me. All right. So we may come back to this. Let's look at notation for congruent angles. Congruent angles are angles with what? equal measure. So this is what we do. We put an arc here and we put an arc there. When you see those, remember how we did tick marks on segments? We do arcs on angles. Now, I could do a double arc if I wanted to. Double arc, double arc. That means they're congruent. So that's how we mark. All right, so one of the things I want you to do is I want you to do this word map for homework. Okay, what is the mathematical relationship? This should be easier than it was in the previous section. This is where we start to be able to write an equation. What is a mathematical relationship? When you're told that you have congruent angles, sorry about the extra S, what do you look for and how do you mathematically deal with them? So you had a similar concept in the last section, and what was that called? Congruent segments. So, MJ, would you go up to the board with A7 and do congruent angle word map? So now we're going to using congruent angles. You're going to draw, you're going to label, and you're going to mark. So angle ham is congruent to angle dog. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw an angle, and we're going to draw another angle, and we're going to label. That's the draw part. Now you're going to label H, A, M. And we're going to label D, O, G. Now how do we mark these? With an arc. All right, like we did on segments. And measure, see, now we're in measure of angle HAM is 4x minus 9. I'm putting it on my diagram. Measure of angle DOG is 2x plus 19. What relationship, what equation are we going to be able to set up, McKenna? What does congruent mean? Ah. So what equation are you going to write? Exactly. Okay, it's all about understanding what congruent angles are in order to write this equation. We're going to subtract 2x from each side, so you're going to have 2x minus 9 equals 19. We're going to add 9 to both sides, so you're going to have 2x equals 28. We're going to divide by 2 and get 14. But what did I ask for? I didn't ask just for x. What did I ask for? Measure of what? Angle HAM. Well, what is HAM? 4 times, I'm putting the x in, minus 9. 4 times 14 is 56, minus 9 is... Thank you. You try. Angle red is congruent to angle paw. I want you to set up the equation. Just set up. Draw, label, mark. These are, if you listen to yesterday's notes online.
Yeah, because I already did.
Did you do the add, subtract? Did you show the work on your homework? Like I'd requested?
1.5.
No, I think there's still more on these because we have to do constructions. And I don't think I have 1.5 notes posted because my headset didn't work by the time I was finished doing the 1.4. It was dead.